FATIN ATHILA binti ZAINUDDin. So today I would like to talk about home financing in Baik Bitamanin Ajil. Baik Bitamanin Ajil means sales of goods with different payment sales which work like murabahah contract. Baik Bitamanin Ajil is a mode of Islamic financing used for property, vehicle as well as financing for other consumer goods. The profit earned by the bank is legitimate from the Sharia point of view since the transaction is based on the sale contract rather than a loan contract. The price at which the bank sells the asset to the customer will include the actual cost of the asset and also include the bank's profit margin. Condition of Baik Bitamanin Ajil on behalf buyer and seller for mandatory characteristic. Firstly, they must be possess sound mind. Secondly, they must be at least 18 years old, and for the last one, they must be intelligent. For prohibited characteristic, firstly, forces to enter into a contract. Secondly, he must not be prohibited from dealing and not bankrupt and not prodigal. Next, for the asset and merchandise, for the mandatory characteristic, firstly, the item must be at the time of the transaction. Secondly, the bank must be the owner of the merchandise, and for the last one must be the pure substance. After that, mandatory characteristic for the price, firstly, must be known by the both seller and buyer. Secondly, must be with the quantum and type of the currency specified. Lastly, mandatory characteristic for the contract, or we call as akad. Firstly, the acceptance must be agreed with the offer, and for the last one, the offer and acceptance must be made at the same meeting. Contract in Baik Bitamanin Ajil. The term and condition of Baik Bitamanin Ajil. Firstly, the purchase and the selling price. Secondly, the right and duties of the buyer and seller. Thirdly, consideration must be included. A valid Baik Bitamanin Ajil consists of 3 contracts, which is firstly, property purchase agreement. Property purchase agreement is the agreement between the customer and the bank where the bank purchases the property from the customer and immediately sells the same property to the customer on different terms under the Sharia principle of Baik Bitamanin Ajil. Secondly, property sales agreement. This agreement reflects the act of reselling the same of the customer upon deferred payment, which includes the bank profit margin. Thirdly, charge document or deed of assignment. This is an agreement between the bank and the customer, whereby the latter agrees to assign all his right and interest on the property to the former as a security for the financing granted. Modus operandi for Baik Bitamanin Ajil home financing. Firstly, the customer will identify that the house that he wishes to buy. Then, the customer will sign SMP agreement and pay the deposit to the house developer since he had agreed. Secondly, by paying the deposit, customer can have a beneficial ownership of the property. Hence, the customer can approach the bank for a financing to a remaining balance. Thirdly, the Islamic bank will purchase the qualified asset from the developer on purchase price on cash basis. Next, the bank will sell the asset to a customer at a markup price. For the last one, the customer will repay back the selling price on an installment basis. Concept of istisna means construction or manufacturing contract. Through istisna financing, the bank will finance a customer who want to manufacture and construct the asset but want to defer the payment of construction cost for a specific period by way of installment. There are 6 purposes of istisna. Firstly, purchase the asset under the construction or yet to be construct. Secondly, project financing, and thirdly, bridging financing. Fourthly, manufacturing or contract financing. Fifthly, asset refurbishment, and for the last one, renovation financing. A generic istisna transaction have 2. Firstly, single istisna, and the second one, parallel istisna. For single istisna, firstly, the customer place an order to construct the istisna asset and pays the progress billing. For the last one, bank delivers istisna asset upon full settlement of progress billing. And for the second type, parallel istisna, firstly, customer places an order to construct the istisna asset and pays for the progress billing. Second, bank agrees and requests contractor to construct of the istisna asset. Thirdly, upon completion, contractor delivers istisna asset to the bank. For the last one, bank delivers istisna asset.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad AMIRUL bin ZULKIFLI. Inshallah pada episode is a diminishing musyarakah. It is a hybrid contract which was recently developed by contemporary scholars. Musyarakah mutanaqisah also can be defined as a form of partnership. It has 3 steps of transaction. First, a bank and a customer form a partnership based on contract of syirkah al-mulk. Second, the customer agrees to rent the bank undivided share in the property. And finally is a financing tenure. The customer will gradually buy the bank shares through the contract of bid. Usually, sign the purchase undertaking one agreement whereby he agrees to gradually buy shares from the bank. There are 3 main parties involved in the modus operandi of musyarakah mutanaqisah. First is customer identifies the property. Second, once application is approved, bank enters into a musyarakah agreement with customer. Third, customer leases the bank share in the house. Fourth, customer will earn an amount in addition to the rental to buy bank units in the property. And the fifth, the partnership will be terminated with the customer owning 100% of the house and the title will be transferred to him or her. Musyarakah mutanaqisah also can be terminated in 2 ways. First, without wahid, that is agreement, that purchase undertaking, whereby the underlying property will be sold in the market and the process will be shared between the bank and the customer according to the latest ownership share ratio. The second one is with wahid, that is the agreement. The customer is required to buy all the outstanding shares of the bank at once. Next is tawarruk. Tawarruk home financing is another alternative home financing introduced by an Islamic bank in Middle East. The common mechanism of tawarruk-based home financing is illustrated as follows. First, the customer identifies the house from the developer or house owner and pays 10% as a down payment. Second, the customer approaches a bank to apply for financing and the bank will access his credit worthiness. Third, the bank will buy a commodity from broker A. Fourth, the bank sells the commodity to the customer and the customer will buy the amount that the bank has been set for them by installment through the financial period. Fifth, the customer sells the commodity to broker B and gets cash. The last one is the customer pays the remaining 90% balance to the house developer.
Assalamualaikum. My name is NURUL SOLEHAH binti ZAINAL. Ijarah in Arabic term known as al-ijarah, that means providing goods and services for temporary time or give something on rent. Ijarah amal is services rendered and the wages paid as a consideration named Maulana Taqi Uthmani. The employer is called mustajir while employee is called ajir and the wages paid to ajir is known as ujrah. Ijarah ain is related to hiring of any asset of any or properties to an advantageous without transfer of ownership. Ijarah ain also known as usufruct. Modus operandi are: the first one is customer make a determination of need and negotiation. Second, seller provide a quotation with agreed price, also term and condition. Third, customer request for ijarah of the asset and promises to take on lease. The bank will purchase the asset via cash payment at the purchase price, and the seller will transfer the ownership of the asset to the bank and deliver the asset to the customer. Bank leases asset to the customer and the right to use on agreed rental basis. Payment based on the agreed payment plan and the asset returned to the bank upon expiry of the lease tenure. The elements are lessor, which are valid and intelligent, asset, benefits, rental that known by both parties and permissible, contract, which is akad that has absolute and decisive language. This is ijarah formula for calculating part, which are total lease rental, monthly lease, and amount of profit. The other comparison in conventional is the lessee are not liable for costs incurred due to events that are out of his control. While ijarah, the lessee is responsible for any loss caused to the asset negligence. Al-ijarah to ma'al-bay is an ijarah contract which is subsequently followed by al-bay contract. The first one is customer identifies the vehicle that need to purchase. Then, bank approach the financing. Next, bank purchase the vehicle and rent it to the customer. And lastly, customer pay the installment on monthly basis. The elements are seller for both mandatory characteristic and prohibited characteristic, and asset, price and contract just for mandatory characteristic only. The challenges are customer awareness, documentation, Sharia framework, lack of experience among the bank officer, and the last one is lack of awareness and cooperation among dealers. The other comparison in hire purchase is don't have any agreement, while ITAP, customer need to sign akad letter, which is acceptance letter.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is SYARIDATUL binti SALMY. So today I'm going to talk about personal financing, which is ba'i inah and ba'i tawarruh. Ba'i inah can be defined as the selling of an asset with markup price on the deferred payment with the intention to sell the same asset to the debtor with lower cash price, which is meant to settle his debt. Ba'i inah is referred to a sale of asset which is later repurchased at different price, whereby the deferred price is higher than the cash price. The pillars that we must have to perform ba'i inah is seller and buyer, merchandise or goods, price and sirah. This is some illustration for inah personal financing. If the bank as the owner and customer as a buyer, the contract is called as murabahah. For example, the bank sells an asset for 15,600 and then the customer will pay 15,600 by 60 equally monthly installment of 260. But if the bank as a buyer and the customer as the owner, the contract is called as musawamah. The bank buys the asset for 10,000 and then the bank will pay the 10,000 to the customer by the cash basis. This is how inah personal financing will be done. The first one, the customer will approach the bank for the financing. Next, the bank identifies the asset that will be traded under Bay Al-Inah contract. Then, the customer and the bank will sign the first sales and purchase contract where the bank says at the selling price on deferred terms. The ownership will be transferred to the customer. Bank and the customer sign second sales and purchase contract. The bank buys back the asset sold to the customer and pays on the cash basis. Then, the customer begins pay his installment to the bank. Okay, that's all for the ba'i inah personal financing. The second personal financing is ba'i tawarruh. Tawarruh is a root word of tawarruka. It can be defined as warak, which is dirham that was manufactured from silver. Any silver that was issued to be as a medium of exchange. The technical meaning of ba'i tawarruh is buying a commodity on the deferred payment basis and selling it on a cash basis to the person other than the buyer. Tawarruh or commodity murabahah can be defined as arrangement that involve purchase of an asset based on musawamah or murabahah. For example, one party purchases an asset from a vendor for a deferred payment and sells it to a third party for cash at a price that is lower than the deferred price. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Modus operandi of tawarruh personal financial. 1. The customer and the bank enter into an agreement. The customer buy a specified asset from the bank. 2. The bank buy a specified commodity from broker A on a spot basis. 3. The bank sell the same commodity to the customer on a deferral basis at cost plus profit. 4. The bank sell the same commodity to a broker B. And 5. The bank pay the customer the sale proceed in a lump sum. And last, the customer pay the bank purchase price of the commodity on deferral installment basis. Now, financial ahran. Definition of ahran: pledge collateral legally. Ahran mean to pledge or lodge a real or corporeal property of material value in accordance with law as security for a debt or pecuniary obligation, so as to make it possible for the creditor to recover the debt or some portion of the goods or property in this found, broking transaction, valuable thing or asset. Gold we pledge to secure loan given by the bank. Bank charge certain amount of service for safekeeping of the pledge. Computation of the loan amount based on 60% margin or the maximum of 5,000, whichever is lower. Advantages of a RAN: 1. Interest-free. 2. Minimum service charge. And last, service charge is based on safekeeping of the pledge. RAN, personal financial. RAN is literally defined as a pledge or collateral. It refers to an arrangement whereby a valuable asset is given as security for a debt. Modus operandi of RAN personal financing. 1. The customer approaches the bank with a valuable item as collateral for financing. 2. The bank accepts the pledged asset and grants interest-free loan to the customer. And 3. The customer pays custodian fee for the service rendered in a safekeeping the asset. And 4. If the debtor is not able to repay the debt, the pawned asset will be sold to settle the outstanding debt, and any surplus will be returned back to the customer.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is NORAIN. So today I want to talk about a credit card. Do you guys know that Bank Islam Card, the other word is BIC, is the first credit card which is fully based on Sharia contract to be offered to Muslim and non-Muslims. Bank Islam Card is completely free of any riba or gharar. And Islamic credit 3 Sharia contracts, namely Bai al-Inah, Wadi'ah and Qardul Hasan. The main concept of the credit card insurance refers to Bai al-Inah. Al-Rajhi Bank used At-Tawarruq for its credit, and recently BIMB followed the same step. Bai al-Inah as the underlying contract consists of 2 separate contracts. The first one is the property sale agreement, and the second one is the property purchase agreement. We move to the mode of operation for this product. Firstly, bank sells to the customer an asset on deferred payment which consists of principal plus profit, in example 9,000 ringgit, for the stipulated term in 5 years. Secondly, the customer sells back the same asset for the bank on cash basis at a lower than purchase price, in example is 7,500 ringgit. Thirdly, the bank disburses that amount 7,500 ringgit into customer's Wadi'ah account maintained with the bank, and the bank gives Islamic credit card to the customers. Any payment made to retailers whenever the customer uses it is actually paid using the customer cash that being saved in his account. Next, we move to Islamic credit card. The first one is Islamic credit card based on INA. This is a modus operandi of INA based on credit card. Firstly, the bank sells an asset to the customer on deferred payment to be paid within a certain period of time. Secondly, the customer subsequently sells the asset back to the bank for a lower amount, in other words is equivalent to credit limit in cash. Thirdly, the amount will be credited into a marginal Wadi'ah account at the bank for the customer use. The second one is Islamic credit card based on Ujrah. This is a modus operandi of Ujrah based on credit card. Firstly, the customer applies for a credit card from a bank. Secondly, the bank provides a credit card account based on the customer's credit worthiness. Thirdly, the customer pays the merchants for the goods from the credit card account. Fourth, the bank provides card to the customers for the fee to the bank. Last but not least, the customers pays the purchase amount and the fee to the bank. The customers will be charged fixed fee structure or other structures which is based on the actual cost of managing the transaction, and annual service fee based benefit rendered by the bank. So next is Islamic credit card based on Tawarruq. This is a modus operandi of Tawarruq based on credit card. First, the bank purchases the commodity from broker A. Second, the bank sells the commodity to the customers for deferred payment for a price equivalent to its credit limit plus profit. Third, the customer sells the commodity to broker B. Fourth, broker B deposits the cash into the customer's Wadi'ah account. Fifth, the customer buys the goods from the merchants using the Wadi'ah account. Lastly, the purchase price is transferred to the merchants. So guys, that's all from credit card. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.